Hi everyone, and welcome to the curriculum overview for grade 6 for the first 6 weeks. This is Brenda Mesa, and I hope you will find this overview helpful. Okay, in the first 6 weeks, we will cover 3 units. Unit 1 on integers, Unit 2, rational numbers, Unit 3, multiplying and dividing fractions. Please check your scope and sequence for the number of days that you will spend on each unit. So in unit number 1, integers, we will focus on 2 standards. Before we get there, I want to talk just very briefly about strands and knowledge and skill statements. 6.2, you'll see the numbers and operations there. That is called the strand. So our unit on integers is said to be within the strand on number and operations. Okay, and so the knowledge and skill statement is the next piece of our standards. It is, in this particular case, the knowledge and skill statement is the student uses mathematical process standards to represent and use rational numbers in a variety of form. So what are these other things down here called? Those are called your student expectations, or your SEs. And in this case, we have TEK 6.2b and 6.2c. So our unit is going to cover 2 standards, 6.2b, 6.2c, and those are both supporting standards. This unit, we will also be focusing on locating, comparing, and ordering integers. We get into operations with integers in a later unit. The other thing that I want to just talk very briefly about and just remind you of is that the knowledge and skill statement states that the student will use, or the student uses, mathematical process standards to represent and to use rational numbers in a variety of forms. And so that idea that when you are designing instruction for your students and you're designing tasks for your students, that we need to be mindful that those tasks are incorporating the mathematical process standards. For the last 2 years of STAR testing, we have seen that the most frequently linked process standards to content items are 6.1b, 6.1a, and 6.1f. 6.1b is that idea of using a problem-solving model, and that is tied directly to one of our Tier 1 priorities of using the UPS check in the classroom. So when we're using UPSC in the classroom, UPS check in the classroom, we're supporting TEK 6.1b. 6.1a is apply mathematics to problems arising in everyday life, society, and the workplace. And so when we're having students work with application problems related to everyday life, society, and the workplace, that's where we're bringing in that process standard 6.1a. And then 6.1f, analyze mathematical relationships to connect and communicate mathematical ideas. So having the students analyze the relationships and then connect and communicate those ideas, communicate both verbally and in written form. So when you have students do that, you are incorporating 6.1f, the process standard 6.1f, into your instruction. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to ask you to do in just a moment is to go ahead and click on the link that is in this presentation, and that link is going to take you to the Texas Gateway. And I'm going to ask you to select the supporting information for grade 6, and then look to see when the document was last updated. You can find that information in the footer. And if for some reason, or if you have last year you printed out this document, please check the date on the document that you have. And if it is an older version, please disregard it and use the most up-to-date version. So what I would like for you to do is, once you get to the supporting information document for grade 6, is I want you to take a look and see what the state says about TEK 6.2b and 6.2c. This document is the most up-to-date information we have from the state of Texas with regards to our standards, and they have indicated that they will update it from time to time. though they're not going to share with us when they're going to update it. So if you'll take a few moments now and pause the video and take a look at those two TEKS and see what the state has to say about them. Okay, this year in 2006 we have a released item for 6.2c, and you'll see the item there. And it covers process standards 1A, 1B, 1E, and 1F. And the correct answer there is D. I do want to point out that 6.2b was not tested in 2015 or 2016, nor did the state release a sample item for that standard. So I don't have anything with regard to that standard to share with you. However, you could go to your standard clarifying documents within Eduphoria and look for sample items for 6.2b on your standard clarifiers, and there's several of them provided for you there. All right, Unit 2. In this unit, we're still working in the numbers and operations strand, and the knowledge and skill statement is the student uses mathematical process standards to represent and use rational numbers in a variety of forms. In this unit, we have 4 student expectations that we're working with. 3 of them are supporting standards. 6.2d is the only readiness standard within this unit. Okay, once again, I would like for you to go out to your supporting information document. You might want to just download that and keep that on your computer, but check back periodically to the Texas Gateway to see if it has been updated by TEA. So I would like for you to go back to the supporting information document and take a look at TEKS 6.2a, 6.2b, 6.2d, and 6.2a and see what the state has to say about those standards. Please pause the video, take a moment to look at the supporting information, and then when you're ready, you can go ahead and resume your video. Whoops, too far. Okay, so in 2016, we see that we have a released item for 6.2a, and it shows a representation of a diagram, a modified Venn diagram, because they are using squares instead of what you were used to with the circles. And it is linked with process standards 6.1b, 6.1e, and 6.1f. While I'm talking about these released items, you may find other items to use with your instruction, with your students on assessments, on your standard clarifying documents, and you are free to use those items with your kiddos as you see fit. Okay, in 2016 we had 2 items that were released for standard 6.2d, and question number 15 was linked with 6.1a, 1b, 1e, 1f, and question number 45 was also linked with process standard 1a, 1b, 1e, and 1f. As a district, we scored lower on item number 15 than we do on item number 45. I would encourage you to take a look at your campus data for these items, and also look at your individual teacher data for these items, and if you were a teacher last year, and see how your students did, and then think about what are the implications for your instruction this year. Do you need to make any modifications? Do you need to include some things that you hadn't included before? So think about that as you're designing instruction for this unit with regard to that standard. Additionally, we do have a student task that was developed this summer for standard 6.2d. Our curriculum writers developed this awesome task that you can use with your kiddos that is aligned to the rigor of the standards and includes some technology pieces and is very engaging for our students. To access that task, you will just go to Unit 2, click on Resources, and then down at the bottom you'll see this open up down here. Click on Resources, that'll take you to your district instructional resources. But the next one down here, the student task, which is labeled 6.2d Student Task Free Throw Competition, if you'll click on that, that opens up this white space over here, and you'll see that there's a Google link included there. So when you click on that, you'll need to go ahead and log into your g.birdvilleschools.net account to be able to access the student task. Okay, we do have a released item for 6.2e. 6.2e was not tested in 2015 or 2016. However, the state did release some sample items to us. In 6.2e, this is one of the items that they released to us so that we have some idea of where we might be heading with our kiddos. And this item right here is linked with Process Standards 6.1b and 6.1f. All right, moving right along. Last unit in this 6 weeks is multiplying and dividing fractions. In this unit, we are still working with the number and operation strand. The knowledge and skill statement is the student applies the mathematical process standards to represent addition and subtraction, multiplication and division while solving problems and justifying solutions. In this particular unit, even though it's talking about rational numbers, we are going to be working with multiplying and dividing fractions. So you'll see there that we have 3 student expectations that we'll be working with, and one of those is a readiness standard. 6.3e is the readiness standard. And so again, as you read through your student expectations there, you'll see that they're talking about rational numbers, but in this particular unit, we are focusing on multiplying and dividing fractions. Okay, so once again, I would like for you to go ahead and go out to the Texas Gateway and look for the supporting information document and take a look at what the state has to say about standards 6.3a, 6.3b, and 6.3e. Go ahead and pause the video for a moment to allow yourself time to go out to the Gateway, and then when you're ready, you can just go ahead and click play. All right. In 2016, we had a released item, 6.3a, and it is linked to Process Standards 6.1a, 6.1b, and 6.1f, and looks very similar to something that they had released in the 2015 sample items. Okay, we did not, the state did not test Standard 6.3b in 2015 or in 2016, but they did release this sample item to us in 2015, and this sample item that you see on your screen is linked to Process Standard 6.1b and 6.1f. Okay, we have 6.3e next, and you'll see that there are 2 items there. Excuse me, problem number 2. This item would be an expectation after students have covered fractions and decimals. Multiplying and dividing decimals comes in a later unit, so this item right here is not necessarily one that I'd want to use with my students right now, unless you changed it up so that you have both numbers there would be fractions. And this, excuse me, item 2 is linked to Process Standard 6.1a and 6.1b and 6.1f. Item number 38, the students would be expected to solve after this unit, and it is linked to Process Standard 6.1a, 6.1b, and 6.1f. As a district, we scored lower on item 38 than on item 2. So I would encourage you to go ahead and take a look at your student data, your campus data, your teacher data, if you were a teacher last year, and see how your students did on these 2 items, and then determine what instructional implications that might have. One of the things that comes to my mind is that our students were struggling trying to determine what operation to do with those fractions. Not necessarily the skill itself, but trying to determine, do I multiply or divide? And so what you could do with your kiddos is to get several word problems related to multiplying and dividing fractions, and instead of having them work all those word problems, you could cut them out and ask them to sort those problems. That could be an individual assignment, that could be a center that you do in your RTI time, but all they do initially is sort the problems by these are multiplication, these are division, and then if you wanted to, you could take it through and ask the student to maybe pick 2 of each of them to solve, two multiplication, two division problems to solve, getting some student choice in there. But what I'd like you to do is think about those two problems and the instructional implications. So as you're designing instruction, you're including problems and thinking about strategies that you can incorporate to help students be successful with those types of problems. Okay, in this unit we also have a student task for 6.3b. And again, you can find it in Unit 3. You'll go to your resources. It'll open down at the bottom. And it's labeled 6.3b, student task, how tall is Alice? And in the white space, it opens up and it will say, please click on the link. You might have to type that into your web browser, but then you for sure need to log in using your g.birdvilleschools.net account. Okay, so that looks like we're coming to the end of our time together. I do hope that you have found something in this overview that is useful to you and has been helpful to you. If at any time you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call me. Send me an email or call me, and I'll be more than glad to help you in any way. Until next time, have a great day.